Emergencies are a part of life. Doesn't matter where you go, where you are, what part of the world you're in, there's emergencies everywhere. Some are natural emergencies, some are human induced emergencies. When the power goes out, what will you be doing in your home? Will you be sitting in the dark, twiddling your fingers, waiting for electricity to come back on, worrying about your food rotting in your refrigerator? Well, today, at Pushing Technology to the Limit, I've got a really good video for you, and stick around because I'm going to help you emergency-proof your home. Now, if you are wondering about what it's going to cost, I've been doing this just over a period of time. How I got started was way back when I first started getting into computers. Somebody told me, well, why don't you get an uninterruptible power supply? And I was at first didn't really know what that was. And, and then it wasn't like a demand that I needed it as the power went out. But it was annoying when the power went out, or even just a brownout for that matter, to have your computer shut down on you, and when you're right in the middle of a project and you didn't save it. That was the big clincher for me to get my uninterruptible power supplies. Now, you don't have to know anything about electrical, really. I mean, you do somewhat to an extent, but if you just want to plug it into your computer, that's fine. But if you're going to do this kind of thing that I'm doing, it's going to take a little knowledge, but it doesn't take an awful lot of education to be able to plug in wires and strip cables and all that jazz. So, there's a lot of other things that you can do with uninterruptible power supplies besides computers. You can plug them into about anything, depending on what wattage you have. I recommend the uninterruptible power supply Trip Lite 900 watts. Now, I got a 300 watt units and 900. So I'm going to be showing you today some of the things that I've been implementing in my home to emergency proof it. And I've been using the LED lights and lamps and different things like that throughout the house. They are not incandescent. Some are incandescent, but that will work better on an uninterruptible power supply or even a generator. So the tools that you'll need for this project, or any kind of a project for that matter, is plugs, receptacles, either 14.2 gauge in-house wire or 12 gauge Romex in-house wire. You can use either underground or indoors, depending on what your application is, whether if you're going to do it inside or outside. I've got here in my home a lot of things like my lights, the garage door opener, different things like that on an uninterruptible power supply, so that if the power goes out by accident, the door will open and close without having to manually disconnect the door. The other thing I'm going to show you today is a plumbing setup that I have set up in my home that I installed last year because we went through a drought. And I don't have the 12 volt pump just yet. It's 120 volts. But for what we needed to use it for, 120 was just fine. But what I want to do is to set it up so that it will run on a low voltage system so that my generator will run it just fine. I do not have a very big generator. Now, some folks are like, well, I need this and I need that. Well, you can do things separately from your house. But the ideal thing would be is to power up your 240 pump and different things like that, your furnace, refrigerator. But if you just don't have the money to do all that, you can do it exactly the way I'm doing it, and it's actually really fun just to tinker with the different technology that's out there, like the RV pumps. And eventually I'll make a movie on how I set up my RV pump to run the plumbing for the toilet. So let me get showing you all the stuff I've got going here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I hope that this video is going to be engaging other people to give their feedback of what they did to their home to emergency proof it. So let me go and get showing you all the stuff I've got going here in my home. So right here is a trip light uninterruptible power supply. That stands for UPS. That's what that, if you ever heard of I mean, it doesn't mean United States Parcel Service. Not all the time. But this is talking about backup. And this is 900 watts. And what I did is, this is actually my first one I ever bought in 2005. And it's been replaced since then. But I've got cables coming over to my breaker panel here. Now, it's not actually going into my breaker panel, but it's a separate circuit in my house. So this is the uninterruptible, there's one circuit here that just stays on all the time, so it goes directly in. This is actually a circuit right to the inside the breaker panel. So I power everything. This uninterruptible power supply, and I've got this uninterruptible power supply that actually has a cable going up into one of these boxes here, and then I'm feeding that throughout the entire basement through these. So this receptacle right here is connected to that uninterruptible power supply. Now, the only thing about having everything connected to one uninterruptible power supply is that it shortens the time that you can back up your equipment. Now, I suggest buying multiple of these things to even out the load. Now, it's kind of hard to see it here, but if I drop down from my computer table, there's another uninterruptible power supply. And that feeds, a bunch of these computers, but not all of them, because I've got them separated on different circuits. And actually, the one thing I found out about these computers is that these are the two that I'm pointing at right now that are lit. They're actually, well, one's a security computer, and that's taking about 100 watts when it's recording. Now, the one that's to the left is about 80, and that's just a research computer. But one thing I found about these newer systems, because this is actually these are actually Windows 7 computers, and they actually, when they're not processing a lot of usage, they all run 80 watts. Well, the older the computer you have, the more watts you use. So like something that you had, say like 15 to 20 years ago, you're running about 160 watts to process a bunch of things. And that takes a lot of juice off your uninterruptible power supply if you had to back that thing up. Now this uninterruptible power supplies, actually I got two of them on this shelf. They go to two rooms. I had this professionally installed by an electrician. Everything else that I've been showing you, I've done myself. Because he put these boxes here that actually go into the wall of our house. And I just had them put, regular male plugs on the ends of these, but they are in a recessed box so that they kind of are hidden. But that goes upstairs into my office and another office. The smaller one is another office. That's about a 300 watt, and this one's a 900 watt unit. And this also actually powers some things in our living room, because my office doesn't take that much electrical to run everything. So let me show you some other stuff I've got connected. So here's my networking equipment, and this is all on one system, and it's taking about, I don't know, 500 watts or something like that, which isn't too bad. But I really need to do some more work, because I've got another table that's actually powered by this, and I should have this one separated from the other table. So this is my laptop table and router system, and that's powered by the same uninterruptible power supply that I just got done showing you. And it's okay, but I really need to even it out. Now this uninterruptible power supply is a new one I just got that I'm going to actually put into our lights. That all the lights down here can be operated on an uninterruptible power supply. They're LED. And I just upgraded these lights to about 75 watts. And one thing that's nice about them is that you can shut them all off individually. So right here is the pull chain, and I can just shut that off and save a little electricity when we're out of power, and save some for something that's really important. And then when I can just basically shut that whole thing off with a switch when on a master switch upstairs. The one thing I forgot to show you earlier when I was going through all the power setup at the breaker box is this. This receptacle right here goes to this box, which I plug all of my uninterruptible power supplies in that power the entire basement and the upstairs from my generator. So I actually have another generator line, which I'm not sure if I can see it over here. It's kind of hidden in all the wires here, but I've got it somewheres. And basically what I'm going to be using with that was my original one. This is actually a 14.2, and it was not heavy enough to go to 100 feet. So I had to switch it over to the 12 gauge wire. But I've got the spare cable going out to my garage, which has my generator. And I'm going to be powering all the lights in there too. So I can just go from the house to the garage in light. It's kind of hard to see here, but there's an orange extension cable going upstairs. And that goes into our living room. And I've got one over in here. It goes all the way to the other side of the room. So basically it's right here. And it goes up to the opposite side of the living room to power some lights. Now I'm going to show you, once we get upstairs, how to work things so that they're not shown, in plain sight. So let me get up there now. Before I actually get to the living room, I wanted to stop in the kitchen and show you some things before getting there, because it comes right into the basement area where I need to go up and down the stairs. So let me show you my refrigerator here. Well, it's kind of hard to see all the cables, but I've got a power cable going through the floor, and right now it's not really hooked up to the refrigerator, but if need be, we can actually unplug the refrigerator and plug it into the generator. And originally that's what this cable was for. Now you can't see it because of all the networking stuff that's been installed over the years, but it's there. And really, when it comes right down to it, I need to upgrade the cable because it's just a extension cord, light duty, and it won't hold the refrigerator. But in this kitchen here, let me show you some other things. So these lights won't come on, and these lights won't come on when the power goes out because they're directly connected into the house. But what we have over here is another setup. And let me show you that. As again, it's kind of hard to see everything in this corner because it's kind of a tight squeeze here. But this is another power area where I've got connected so that you can actually plug in lights. And it's a medium duty cord for indoors. But eventually I'll be replacing that with a heavier duty. But I don't really need heavy duty here because it's just the telephone cable and a few things. But you can actually plug in a light fixture and have it sitting right here on this table here. And if we come over here, you can actually make calls out on this telephone, which when the power goes out, it doesn't work unless there's power. So even the modern landline phones don't work without power. So here is the cable that comes up from the basement. It's kind of hard to see it there. It's behind the cupboard. But that's where the telephone power adapter sits. And we power the phone from that way. Every lamp in this living room is able to be powered by the generator. So you can't really see it too good, but I got them all turned on so that when the power goes out, that the lights just stay on, including the TV here. And there's just a little bitty, I mean, you can't even see it because of the way I've got everything set up here. But there's just a little, let me get down here so I can kind of lift it up for you. So there's a hole there in the floor that the rug covers up. And then I can just push it back down. And I didn't want to remove the rug for that purpose, to hide the wires in the hole and all that jazz. Now if you're asking me, well, how did I do all this and hide everything so neatly? I'm going to show you how I did it, because it's very simple, and you got to have baseboard heat. If you don't have a hot water furnace, then it's not really easy to just go ahead and try to hide it unless you got carpet. The linoleum floors, you can't really do it unless you got a radiator. So let me show you what I've done here. So you can see here that there's a orange extension cord coming out of the radiator. Well, that's because there is a hole beside the existing water pipe to bring up the cables. So right here I got the radiator taken apart so we could actually see what's going on inside the radiator. Now, so you can see here that this is the let me get my hand on it better. This is the hot water pipe right here. And what I did is I just peeled back the carpet. I'm not sure if I can get in there too far because I'm actually on my hands and knees. But I drilled a hole that goes right down to the basement. Let me see if I can get a better angle at that. Not quite sure. But yeah, it's a little tight. It's a little tight here for the video camera here. I'm going to try to get a better angle on that. Right there. Alright. So there's the hole. And that's how I got the power cable to come up so that the light would run. Now on top of that, I can I've got a little tap so that you can actually plug other things into it if need be when the power goes out. Besides, and see, you got this lamp here plugged into it. So this thing will stay on all the time as long as the generator is running. Okay, so we're in the first office now, and we're going to show you the power to power up the computer system itself. And this is the one I was talking about that I paid somebody to put in the wall for us. So right underneath this table here is the power receptacle from the basement that actually is connected to the generator. And it's not really connected to the generator until you plug it into the generator. And then I got the Ethernet and fiber optics cables for the office over here. So up here, I'm in my hallway, and as you can see, there's this light here, and you can't run it when the power's off. But over here, I've got a phone and a light set up, so if the power goes out, I mean, yes, it still works right now, but why would you when you can just turn on the hall light? So this one's a little bit easier to get to because it's wider, but we've got the power cables, the phone cables, the network cables. We also have a little computer set up in here, but it powers. It goes right to the basement just like everything else does. I didn't show you that connection where that comes out, but
I've got this lamp right here that has a little LED 40-watt light bulb in it, and it's pretty bright. And you can't really tell that unless it's really dark, but it lights up the whole hallway that we need. And, you know, we can just operate efficiently without electricity. Now this is my office, as you can tell. And I've got LEDs going all over the place. Well, there's only 3 of them, but they're pretty bright. They're 60 watts, and they're on a dimmer. Well, I don't really like to dim them because the only thing that's different between the LEDs and the incandescents is that the incandescents you can dim, and the LEDs, they're not really that good. So I have another fixture here that has incandescents in them, and I use them all the time. But, you know, when they're in the power outage, you can't do anything with them. So let me show you how the power gets up here to power everything. Now this is where that unearthable power supply that I showed you that has 2 sitting by next to each other. Those are the 2 offices. So let me show you the power connection. I've got actually a power connecting to actually have 6, and I've got taps in there too to actually make more. And these are mainly DC to AC adapters, so it's not very, you know, there's not much juice on those. It's like phone chargers and stuff like that. And right here are my LED light bulbs. It's kind of a cob job, but it's mainly you know, just for backup. But I've got a wooden beam here that's exposed that's to the house, so I can just mount it wherever I need to. And then I've got one over here next to my table so I can see what I'm doing. And then I've got one over here in that area. So there's nothing in my closet or anything like that, but I can put stuff in there if I need to, but with these lights as they are, they're fine. So this little section here is a bit hard to see, and I forgot to show you these, but these are the switches here that run, well, one's a computer switch, the one on the bottom, and the top one is actually lights. So when the main switch off is over here, you know, you can, or the power's out, so like you can see right now that there's actually lights in the basement. Well, when the power goes out, this switch doesn't work worth a hoot, so you can't turn it on or off. So like right now, you don't see a light except for my flashlight running and that workshop light that I've got running down there. But I can just follow this switch, the one I just showed you, the top one, and then the lights come back on, and this is going right to the uninterruptible power supply. So when the lights go off, I can come downstairs and just keep working. And now we're going to go to the garage. I don't remember how long ago it's been, but I modified the garage here with boxes and switches. So there's inside lights, outside lights. There's about everything in this garage on the inside and the outside are LEDs. Even my workshop. And they are all connected to this receptacle here. So if I unplug this, this shuts off the lights. You see now that none of them are on. Well, these 2 right here are the main house, but this one right here is not working. So if I go and I plug it back in, you can see that the lights come back on. So I plug that black plug in. Now you can see that there are lights on in this garage. So what I did here is, this is the generator. And one other thing that I did is I want to unplug that light because it's daylight here. This is the garage door. So let me show you what happens. So that door is coming up, and if I unplug this, oh, the power just went out. Well, now your door is kind of, you can't get your car out. So I can just plug this cable right into my generator. Well, if my generator was turned on, it would go back up like it was supposed to. But I can just plug it back into the main power source, like it is now, and just keep going. So then the door finishes opening up. So I'm not going to bother to turn the generator on, but you just got to believe that that's the generator. This is because I've got everything according to size, because this is 12 gauge cable, this is 14.2 cable, that's for lighting, and then it goes right into the other side here, which goes into from the basement. This all goes into the basement here. So even like this cable right here, this is the cable I was trying to find. This is actually 14.2, and this is actually going to be the uninterruptible power supply in the basement, because I didn't want to keep it out here in the garage because it's too cold. And I just got done wiring these. I've got receptacles here, which are the uninterruptible power supply in the basement, and that's where that light is going to go from now on. And once I get the uninterruptible power supply set up, everything is going to be connected there, even the garage door. Now, maybe the garage door won't be able to be handled. I got to do a power check on the garage door to make sure that it's going to take the load on the uninterruptible power supply. But you can actually run that. If it does work, I haven't tested it, but I do know it works on the generator, because I've just ran it on the generator just a couple days ago before making this video. So here's my shop light, and you can see everything is LED. I've got 100 watt lights here, and let me show you the generator system that I've got going. So right here is my generator, and then I've got this cable plugged in right here. So this is the actual power cable that goes to the generator. Now, why do I have this switch in here? For one good reason. So if the generator runs out of gas and you have to unplug your load to be able to start it again. So instead of having to unplug the load, just automatically just shut it off, and then you're all set. Then you fire it back up, then you just switch your load back on. So it's just basically just, I mean, anybody that has electrical knowledge that can run cables, put parts together, can do this on their own without an electrician. I'm not anything to do with, I'm not an electrician really. I mean, I am to an extent. I'm a home electrician, but I don't make any money at it. But so here is where the connections go out to the house and different parts of the garage that I have the cable, the receptacles. And right here is the main source. This is where the lights, so if I unplug this, it gets dark in here. So, and in the same way here, that's the receptacles for the actual office or the workshop. So like these receptacles right here can be switched over to generator if need be. So there's the connection and over to the other receptacles over here. So all these receptacles can be unplugged and put into the generator. So I'm not sure if I already said this or not, but this receptacle right here is one of my new ones, and it's my uninterruptible power supply for the basement, like I was just talking about a few minutes ago. So this plug right here is just going to go into this receptacle, and it's going to stay there because I'll have an uninterruptible power supply to turn the lights on and off, and then I can still come over here and fire up the generator without having to be in the dark. Or I can, I don't have to, I have to have a flashlight, but now I don't have to have a flashlight because I can just turn on the regular lights and just walk right in. So this outside light, I got two of them on the outside here. One here. And then one over here. Kind of hard to see on my screen here out in the outdoors. Can be all powered from the generator. I've accidentally got these turned on, but they're not supposed to be on. I accidentally turned them on, but those can be powered right from the generator, and over here at the woodshed. So if we have to get wood in the wintertime, we've got lights to see to get into the woodshed. And it works pretty good.
Now the only problem that I have with my generator is the fact that it's so small that it can't power the whole load. And there's a lot of things that you can say that are non-essential, like television, computers, radios, all that stuff. It's really non-essential, but lights, water, a shower, you name it. Anything, cooking, refrigerating, is all essential items, except for AC. That's just, a convenience. That's a luxury item. Same way with TVs and entertainment systems. Those are luxury items that we can live without with. But water, food, flushing toilets, those are essential items. But I'm going to show you a little bit about what I'm going to be doing here. Yes, I've shown you the electrical, but last year I installed another plumbing system because we had a drought, and I'm going to show you what I did for our toilets. Now, that's the same basic thing as I did with the electrical in the living room with the radiators, and I'm going to show you that. So I'm not fully finished with converting everything over to DC, but I'm going to show you what my pump was that I was using, and it's not really usable on a generator. I mean, yes, if that's all you want to use is to pump something out.
Now this is a sprinkler pump, and it's also usable for anything, for like pulling out water of basements and things like that. It's just the way you set it up. And it can run on my generator, but it takes too much electricity to run it. It's 10 amps, so that's about 1,800 watts, which is, can't really do anything else. I mean, you can power a few lights, but whoopee-doo. This is for really emergencies. So like when we're having a lot of rain and we've got water coming in and the whole 9 yards, and my little pump can't handle it, this bad boy can take over. And literally sometimes I need 2 pumps to get the water out of this place.
So right here is my sump hole, where normally you would just throw a pump in. I mean, there is a pump in here, but this other one I showed you just a few minutes ago is not submersible. You got to have a little thing here to pull out the water. But what I've got set up here is a 12-volt pump. It's a bolt pump, and I think it's about 110 gallons per hour or something like that. So it's very slow, and I can turn it on for you. I've got a little float. I got a boat float, and it will come on. But there's no water to pull out. I mean, there's some little water sitting down there, but if I want to pull it out because it starts stinking, I got to use my wet vac. So let me show you how I kind of got this set up. But this works on my generator because it's 12 volts, and I set it up with a power supply because you can either run it on a battery, but I chose to run it on a power supply because it takes more. I mean, you got to charge the battery anyways, so what's the point? And if you got a lot of water coming in, you need to be able to run it. And the majority of our rains that we get here, unless we've got a lot of rain that we have been getting, but it's been not bad where I've actually had to pump water out. But if it did get bad, this would come on. But if it was really bad outside where everything was just leaking in this place, I would have to run the other pump. Now, it might be coming down to where, it's essential items like pumping water out of your basement rather than TV or a computer for that matter. So this light bulb right here actually comes on, and I don't know if the camera picked it up or not when I was turning on the pump, but it's actually connected over here. I've got a 120 volt receptacle that I just got this light bulb plugged into. Now on the other hand, I can run that 120 volt pump right here
off from this receptacle, and the float would control that pump if need be. And I've got the switch isn't hooked up. I originally had a switch that would switch the 12-volt pump on and off. The one down here is disconnected, but the one I have in my office is still connected. But that just permanently turns it on or turns it off. And it's kind of hard to show you here, but I've got a cable, and there's a 12-volt power supply, and it's sitting backwards. But you can kind of see the back end of it. You can see the shiny parts on it, and that powers the pump. And that's a little bit overkill for what I need it for. I had it for other things. The pump is about 4 amps, and I was running other things off it, but now it's just kind of overkill for the pump because that's a 12 amp power supply, which is way more than what I needed for it. But it works great because it's regulated. I keep going back and forth about different things, but it's kind of hard to show everything that's going on down here and just throughout the house with just trying to sit down and go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I got to go back and forth as I remember, because this is not a script. It's just something that when I remember to do it, I just do it on the video. So I was mainly going to get to the plumbing of how to flush your toilet, but now I'm going to show you some other things in that section. Now, this water that I've got to flush our toilets with is not drinkable unless you get a filtering system. I mean, it's just pond water. So I've talked to some people that know some things about pond, and they said that really it's not good because it has fish poopy and all that other stuff in it. And, wee and all that. And growth, allergy, other nasty stuff, bird stuff, you don't want to drink that. And I don't think that the purification systems could actually purify that enough to do it, since animals live in it. And, but let me show you some other things I've got going down here. I'm gonna work my way through it, but just bear with me. I'm gonna do my dehumidifier. You kind of saw that, I think, with the electrical stuff I was doing, but I'm going to do more of that now. So here's my dehumidifier. And yes, this is not really emergency material, but to keep the basements not so moist, I have that running when I need to. Right now it's not bad, but I don't like how quickly the bucket on this thing fills. And then I got to try to haul it out of the basement. Well, there's no really good way to haul it out of the basement. So basically, I bought a pump last year and ran all the pipe to our septic. And so I just dropped one end in here. Let me see here. So this is the dehumidifier drain off, and then this one goes out to the septic. And I've got a connector here so I can disconnect everything. It's just a regular garden hose deal. But if I were to unplug that, all the water would run out. But really, that is not backup material really for this video. But I just thought I'd just show you that just for an added thing into the video here. But anyways, now I don't have the pump here. That pump that I showed you I use for emergency pumping, I also use that for our water system. But I'm going to be getting another pump, which is 12 volts, and that will be able to run on a generator. And I've actually have it in the bucket, so if it was leaking, because this is actually the water line. This is just regular garden hoses. I mean, there's no big deal about that. And but I got the wrong fitting, so I had to do the one side. I think the pump was female and this is male. I'm not really sure which way is which. But anyways, this clear water line is our bathroom water line. And I've got what they call now, I didn't know what they called these things until a friend told me about it. I bought the the water line from HEP, and they didn't even know anything about it. And they do sell them when I went back over there, but I didn't buy it from them. I bought it online. It's called a pressure reducer. Now, I've got this hose. I mean, you can't see it because it's not running. I don't have a pump hooked up to it or anything like that. But I turned it down to 30 psi because when I had that pump that I have was 80 psi, and I blew the hose out upstairs when we had the drought last year. So I just kept that there, and the reason why I have the hose or the water inlet and the water to the bathroom here is because right above us is the kitchen. So I was setting up so that you could actually do stuff in the kitchen with the water. Now, I'm hoping to get better water supply so that we can actually use it for drinking water. But one of the things that I'm going to plan on doing is not just a pump, but I'm going to do a little water system down here so that when the power goes out, that you can actually run everything on the generator. So over here is where the water comes in. And actually, the green hose is water that goes out. I didn't get it fully set up, but what I was trying to do is do a circulation. So in the wintertime, because we had low water to flush our toilets and do stuff with, I wanted to circulate the water so that the pond water would never freeze. Well, I never got to it, but in the long run, we really didn't need it afterwards, but it's still there. I haven't gotten that installed, but the gray hose is the actual water line to the pump when we have it hooked up. Now here, it's kind of hard to see everything, but I'm kind of going back and forth. But this is the, as you can see, the septic, and I've got the clear line, which is the dehumidifier going in, and then I also have the pump line going into the septic tank. And I also have it set up so you could actually, use the green cable so it would go, you could actually hook it to go out. And I think there's another one. Yeah, there's another hose out there somewhere that does the same thing. So you can actually put, if you've got a lot of water, instead of filling up your septic tank with a lot of water, you can just feed it back outside. But anyways, this up in here, it's kind of hard to show it all to you, but there's the garden hose which goes to the pump, but then also there's the clear line which comes over here and goes up that wall into the upstairs, which goes into a little crawl space area. Now the ideal thing when you're doing water in your home is rather just to have a generator that can hold up to the essential items of your house, like your water pump, your furnace for the winter. Our furnace actually heats water year round for our hot water system for the tap and the tub, and the sinks and all that jazz, and the washing machine. But for me, I really just and it's probably part of a lot of other folks is like out there that I don't know of, but money is a factor. So this is probably a little bit more expensive, but I'm doing this over time, so I'm actually building up to it. I'm not just going out and buying this and that and the other thing to put it all together. I'm just slowly over time, as we need it, we put them together and use it. But it's fun to do it, and I mean, you can just go out, buy a 10,000 watt generator, have your 240 and your your 120 for whatever you need to power. But this is a little bit more educational of doing it this way. I mean, I already know about this stuff, so it's not like really education, but it's just fun to do it, and it's a lower end electrical system, whether it's the pump or the the light bulbs. I mean, like I said, I run incandescent light bulbs, and for the most of the house, and those lights that you saw up in our living room are incandescent. They're not LED. We prefer incandescent in the living room over LED.
But let me show you where all this stuff goes to and how I've hidden it so that, you know, the bathroom doesn't look like a plumbing mess. So let me show you what all this stuff goes to. Now you might think that this is just your average bathroom where, you know, where the sinks and the toilet and the tub are, but it's way more than just that. I've got advanced so that there's other things in here that help run the bathroom when there's no electricity. And of course, this light fixture right here is LED, but it won't work when the house power goes out. So I've got some other things here. Now there's not really AC in the bathroom that you can get to easily. I'd have to run that, but if we have to, which I'm planning on doing so, I'm going to have it set up so that you can actually have light in here, or I'm going to use strip lighting underneath the counter space here, so that you can actually have a running light, but not having to see all the tape and electrical stuff. But let me get to showing you the plumbing that I did for the toilet. This is just your average, you know, plumbing area for your toilet, and you can't really do anything. I mean, I could hook it up so that you could use a valve to switch between house water and actual pump water, but I haven't really done that, and I just don't like the look of it. So here in this radiator, again, there's a phone cable coming out. You're going to say, why is there a phone in the bathroom? Well, if you have an emergency, like a health issue or something like that, you need to call 911 or something like that, you can call them. You know, but anyways, so if I take this radiator apart, this is where this is basically where everything runs, and it's kind of hard to get this thing off. Now let me just stop here for a second. So basically, you know, you can take the radiator apart, and there's the hole for it. And then you can just put the radiator back together like it's like everything else, and then you won't ever see it. I mean, unless it's just coming out the radiator. So what that would do is, I'm having a hard time holding on to everything here, but you can just put the radiator back together and just use it like that. So what you do is you just, I found this thing doesn't have enough pressure now. It's a little bit bent, but it has, let me show you what's going on here. So I have a PEX, you know, shut-off valve here, and then you can just turn it on, turn it off. Well, I'm having a hard time doing it with one hand here, but it's been a while since we had this. There it is. So you can just turn that on, and the water will come up. I mean, you can drop it in the toilet like that, but really there's not enough pressure in this hose to actually flush the toilet. So you would have to put a bucket and then just dump it into the toilet. But if we had it set up the right way, we would just have it connected there, and then the water line would just run, and then you just switch it back and forth between house water and pump water from the open source water. So basically that's what how you get water up into your bathroom. Now let me just show you how everything is kind of working in behind the scenes here. This is just a little crawl space, but I'm not crawling. I call it a closet. Other people say that's a crawl space, whatever. But I've got this light here, and then I've got this one over here, and there's that switch right here. Well, actually, it's kind of hard to see it. Sure, where is it? All right, there it is. It turned the lights on and off, and that is powered by the uninterruptible power supply in the basement. But back here, we have the plumbing. We have the water line for the toilet. And we also have electricity. So there's this power cable. There's some other power cables back here. Here's another one right here. This one actually isn't plugged into anything. This is just when we had some networking stuff back here. That's how we powered it. But it would power lights, and we could actually, there's another hole
you know, in here, where that phone line goes, there's another hole in that radiator where you can actually run 120 volts to power lights and stuff like that in the actual bathroom. So I'm ready for emergencies. I've done a lot of the work myself with doing this stuff, and but it works pretty good when something goes down.
So that's basically how I got all of my necessities. I mean, the toilet's a necessity. I wish I could power the refrigerator and the stove and the furnace if you needed to, but we got a wood stove, so if the furnace goes out, you can't take a bath anyways if the power's out. So but if I could, I would. But really, when it comes down to power outages, you gotta think, what's the most important thing in my life? Well, for us, it's the telephone. So the telephone has to run on electricity. It has to go for the network to be able to do that. No phone anymore really runs without electricity. So, you just gotta prioritize what you want to power up. Now, for us, there are folks that like to read books at night. Well, we got the lights so that they can read books. I like to watch TV at night, so I've got that to be able to be powered. And we've got lights for the dining and the kitchen, so you can see to work in and eat and cook. I mean, cook as best you can without the power, but that's the other thing that I would think is I actually had to shut down the load the other night when we had the power failure because we like to have tea. So I had to shut down probably about 1,500 watts of the load so I could run the teapot because it wouldn't work with what we had on there. So I hope this helps. I know it might not be very interesting to some folks, but it's just showing you what I've done to emergency proof the house so that the next time that the power goes out, you can still get the car in and out of the garage. You can not have to worry about that. The only thing that I can consider with a power outage with a generator and all that jazz is, you got to worry about gas. And it's just like, I ran it for 2 hours and filled it up because I just want to make sure that it's not going to, go off when we really need it. Because I find that it's harder to start it when there's no gas in it. I mean, yeah, you can't start it when there's gas in it, but once you put gas in it, it still takes a little bit longer to start the thing and get the gas back into the engine. So there's other options you can do. There's power inverters, which you can hook up to cars. They got all sorts of stuff. I looked at those. Sometime I was thinking about replacing the generator with the power inverter system because you don't really use it that often. You use it just when the power goes out. And the power goes out around here. Well, it was kind of an odd situation while the power went out. It was just rain, but it wasn't really a storm. Something electrically happened somewheres in NYSEG's power system that shut us off. There was 3,000 customers without power the other night. So I had some lights, able to watch TV and go to bed. And, but before we went to bed, the power was back on. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But if it was like a grid failure like we had at one time, it was like a couple of days or so before we actually had electricity back. So we would have been running the generator on all that. But anyways, I hope this helps. If you are a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. Like the video. If you think it really helps somebody, please share it with them. If people have comments, please leave them. I hope to actually have this video filled with comments with people's other suggestions that they've done to their setup to help other people out. So anyways, I'll see you the next time on Pushing Technology Limit. Have a great day.